Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope your evening went well. We're cooling down. We're supposed to be in the 80s, not in the mid-90s for the next week, at least on paper, or the forecast goes. Bank of England is expected to keep their rates unchanged. European Central Bank is expected to cut their rates by 10 to 15 basis points, keep them above zero, but there is some talk that they're going to go to a negative number, like minus 0.10. They can also change their banking reserve requirements in capital, which would be their capital. But when Draghi picks up the mic at 8:30, we'll see what they have. So the articles out there have said that the market expects more than a 10-15 basis point cut. Now, the European Central Bank is restricted. They cannot directly purchase assets, but they can do repos, which is what they did at first. So we'll see what we got, but it's down to the news. If they do just strictly cut their rates by 10 to 15 basis points, on an interest rate differential, you can get paid more on U.S. paper than you can on European Central Bank paper. That will tend to support the dollar, which will tend to support our treasuries. So initial resistance right here is 20 to 24, followed by our 28 to 25. So it is aggressive, a 19 to 23 sell, and a 27 to 31 sell is where it sorts up, but it really is down to the news. When Draghi picks up the mic, we'll have jobless claims, and they're supposed to be greater than last week's. They're looking for 310, but this number will probably be lost by Draghi's news announcement. So looking just strictly at the structure where we are, you've got a low right here of 25.5. You've got a high up here at 125 even. This is your prime sell territory. London's last rotate up stopped at 31.5, so if you're going to lean against that London high, your sell's at 31. This 20 to 24 area is very, very aggressive. My guess is that we'll be able to get closer to 24 than to 20, just off if the European rate cut goes as expected. Well, Greg, it's it's just putting things into context. I mean, Draghi, if you've watched his news announcements this year, he's been able to move the euro 1,000 points when he's picked up. I mean, 1 full point when he picks up the mic. So it's just watching. The market's reaction to different news, watching the market's focus. But the central piece of news this morning was the European Central Bank's rate announcement. So not rocket surgeon stuff if you track the markets. Draghi probably has very little to do with your crude trading. So it was announced. The rate announcement is at 7:45 Eastern. He picks up the mic at 8:30 Eastern. It should have been some of those articles I posted this morning, but you can go get that off of Market Watch. You can get it off of Econoday, Bloomberg News. So here we are. Again, I'm just saying we're to a news announcement now. My guess is that we've got next week's auction, we've got the non-farm payroll, and once Draghi's statements are out of the way, which come at 8:30 Eastern, the focus will go back to non-farm payroll, and they're looking at 220 for right now. That may be revised lower given the ADP number. That number is supportive for indexes. It's not so for financials. So I think Friday's non-farm payroll will cap our rally at some point, and the issue is it at 24, is it at 28, is it at the buck? And I don't really, you really don't know when you get into it. So I'm looking for really, really good support in this 8 to 12 area, so we'll make our first buy 9 to 13. And then our second buy 1 to 5 to get started. Depending on how far we go off the rate announcement, we could raise that up to 17. But right now, just to get started for planning purposes, this is the way we'll do it. Okay, I have Camtasia came out and made, I picked up their 8.4 version to record it, and none of the recordings I made yesterday had audio. Don Manning said you can barely hear me in the background. So I'm going to go to Camtasia today and ask him what's the deal, what little button or switch needs to be turned down. Usually when you upload new software, it keeps all your previous settings, but we will see this morning. So I apologize for yesterday's lack of audio, and Nancy tells me it's the day before too. So I had asked for feedback, and I've gotten it, so we'll see what we've got. I did change one switch this morning, so hopefully I found what the problem was, but we'll find out here in a moment. Okay, looking at the 30-year, we're 10 plus 28 on the knob spread. We had more liquidation yesterday in the 30-year. They're taking it back down. This rally started out of the there's two areas, 920 on the knob spread or 1016, and it looks like we're headed for 1016, where there will be some profits taken. So the numbers are pretty much the same on this one. We're looking at pretty much 11. We have a 19 to 23 sell, 27 to 31. On the buy side, the low is 5. We're at 12. This is really, really aggressive. Maybe 9s we have to pay, but we'll start out trying to buy 1s to 5s like yesterday. And if we bust 135, I'm going to drop it down to 25 to 21 because of liquidation in the knob spread. Okay, gold was decidedly quiet overnight. Everybody thinks that if Europe cuts their rate, that the gold should come down a little bit more, but not a lot. We've been talking about 12.15 to 12.35 as the trading target, and I think that's still reasonable because of the volume and the distributions. The market is decidedly under pressure. The real reason long-term it's under pressure is that the large institutions are no longer buying the physical metal, letting it sit. They want to earn at least something via dividends or interest on their money. So holding physical gold because the fear of collapse is diminishing is not high on their agenda. We left last night wanting to sell the right piece of paper here. I think we had 47 to 50 We've got a high a little bit over 47. That still seems reasonable. And then 53 to 55. Because I think we can trade lower, let's put this 35, 37 as buy one kind of in this area down here, and then our 28, make it 29 to 31 for buy two. Now, from my perspective, if Europe cuts the rates, they're trying to stoke up inflation while the expectations are for the market to sell. The inflation expectations should temper that selling. So I'd like to buy the 12.15 area, but we may have to commit to the long side in the 12.35. We'll just have to see. So I think we'll have some support when we head down lower in gold. And you know, we haven't been able to break the 40-42 area either, so that's a possibility. Just have to see how she goes. Okay, we've got one hell of a news spike both ways on the euro. It made it back up to 136.50, which is a great place to sell it. It has been a great place to sell it, as you will see. And we're currently trading at 35.65. So we have said that 135 has been our minimal trading target. And I think the market is headed for that. Obviously, 35.50 is going to bring in some profit taking. So 50 to 60 will be buy one. It'll be a bounce point. And then we'll make 15 to 25 buy two. The market spilled from the 85 area. We're at 65, so 75, 85 will be sell one. We'll play for some volatility. Then 36, 36.10 will be sell two. And our assessment that the euro would be down on their rate announcement would be was correct. So they cut it 10 basis points, and that was widely expected. So they're paying 15.15 basis points. Thanks, Don. I think we're headed to 135 even, and the European Central Bank would certainly like that. Now, depending on which currency is higher, you can price crude out of the Middle East on the euro dollar or on the dollar. So based on dollar strength in relationship to the euro dollar, there will not be a compelling reason to rally crude this morning to make up for a lower dollar. So I think crude is still pointed a little bit lower, but because of what's going on in the Ukraine and potentially what's going on in the South China Sea, China is stirring the nest with the Philippines, stirring the nest with Vietnam. They're trying to see what our reaction is going to be, and I can already tell them what our reaction is going to be. We may shake our finger at them, but nothing more than that. And the Chinese know that. You know, there was a cartoon out the other day talking about how our administration negotiates, and it was basically, what do you want? Here it is. You sure that's not enough? You don't want more? You just have to sit back and shake your head. And now, of course, the soldiers that came up on this, really a deserter when you get right down to it, in the face of hostile fire in the military that that is punishable by death. They won't do it. Obviously, they're not going to do it to this guy. But the people that point out this guy's actual record are being trashed by the toadies that flame people on the internet. I mean, it really, really, none of these people had the courage to raise their hand and cross the line when called. And to see what they do to people that do have the courage to do that. Of course, they're so important. Their lives are too valuable. Okay, we'll just play for a trading range here, 102 minus 103 plus on crude. That's what it has been. I think it has a lower bias because of the increased production from Iran. We've just told Iran that they can raise their oil. They can sell more oil out there and generate more revenues for the home team, which means they can put more money into creating nuclear weapons. That's good. Back in the old days, when I was flying and involved in the Cold War, because of the communist philosophy, which is probably the most materialistic philosophy in the world, they don't mind people under them dying, but they sure as hell ain't going to stick their necks out. So the likelihood of a nuclear exchange between Russia and the United States was zero, just because of that philosophy. But when you give atomic weapons to people that can't wait to get to heaven, and especially killing others to pad their way to heaven and get higher up on the ladder, that's a different matter. So when I was flying, I always thought the nuclear exchange would be between Pakistan and India. And I haven't really. So giving the weapon to the Muslim world out there really increases the chances of a nuclear exchange. Okay, I started resistance at 30, 32, and then 35. So this morning coming in, we were looking at a 29.31 sell right in here, and then a 34.36 sell. Thought the market was going to make new highs. I thought we might be held in check. At the top wouldn't totally come off by tomorrow's non-farm payroll number. On the buy side, 23.25 is support. I'd like to get a little cheaper than that, but that is buy one. Let them come down, and we do have enough volume down here at 25 to pull the market back down to it, and then 20 to 22. So I've got support 20 to 25, and I got resistance basically at 30. And my guess is that when Draghi's comments are over at 8:30 Eastern, that Friday's or tomorrow's numbers will hold the market in check. We will see what happens. Like I said, after Draghi is, it looks like, so we've got the European, I'll have to go back and read the articles, but apparently they're going to charge you to put deposits at the European Central Bank. You go from paying no interest on it to a charge. Now the hope is that that will force the banks to lend. But people borrow money to expand on the idea of better economy to follow. And I don't think anybody out there can make that claim right now. Okay, it'll take about 20 minutes to get everything up, around, and posted. I'm going to get busy on that right now. Go read the articles. In the meantime, good trading. I think today's rally in the financials will be capped either at 24, 28, or the buck. Probably should have pretty good support down in the 8 to 12 area on the note. I think that we'll find sellers in the E-mini in the 30 to 35 area, and getting started buyers at 20 to 25. So we'll see how she plays in a bit.